Hi everyone, as you heard, I'm Randall Williams, U.S. sports business reporter here at Bloomberg News, and today we're going to be talking some women's basketball, and who better to do it with Terri Jackson, the executive director of the Women's National Basketball Players Association, and Sylvia Fowles, who is a two-time WNBA champion, two-time WNBA Finals MVP, 8-time All-Star, and 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. And Terri, don't get upset, but I can't list the rest of them because we'll be here all day. She has that many accomplishments. And we'll actually start there because you are actually being inducted into not one, or you have been inducted into not one, but 2 Hall of Fames this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what's that like? Have you had a moment to reflect on essentially, all of these accomplishments are great, but when you get to the Hall of Fame, that's like the pinnacle, right?
That is the pinnacle. It has been phenomenal. I think over these last couple of months, I really had a chance to reflect on my career, which has been pretty amazing because when you're in the moment, you're not really focusing on the accolades. And so to sit back and fully understand the things that I did over a 15-year span is pretty amazing.
When you got the first call in the Women's National Basketball Hall of Fame, what was that like?
Very exciting. I actually missed both calls for both. I'm pretty bad at answering my phone from numbers that I don't know, but the first call was pretty much like the second call I missed, and it was left in a voicemail.
I was going to ask if they left a voicemail. Did you think it was a spam?
I did. I had to listen to the message a few times, and then I had to call the number back to make sure that nobody was playing, and then the second call after that was my mom.
That's so relatable, right?
How did you vet the call? At some point, you're picking up and you're like, no, this is really guys. So when did you believe them?
After I listened to it like the third time.
Okay.
I was like, okay, wait. Because then you think about it, you talk with your agent about these things, and typically they don't happen until like year 4 or 5 after retirement. I didn't think it was going to happen in year 3, so it came kind of fast. So I still was in a bit disbelief.
And so you missed the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, which is, of course, the granddaddy of them all. That's happening this weekend. Mm-hmm. You have a speech prepared. You think you'll cry. What are emotions going to be like?
I don't know. I kind of let myself figure it out. If I want to cry, then my body will cry. But I'm not planning on doing anything besides trying to get through my speech without speaking too fast.
So, so with a career like yours, I have to ask, do you think you left women's basketball in a better space than when you found it?
Absolutely. But a lot of that just have to do with the players before me. The fight that we put up, the unity that we hold together as a unit. And once we put our mind together, what we can accomplish as females is pretty powerful. And so I think I left the sport in a good place, and we got young women who's carrying on that legacy.
Now, both you and Terri have witnessed women's basketball and this growth, the popularity of it just surge over the last couple of years. You were part of that wave towards the end of your career. Terri, you saw it as well over the last, say, 5 to 6 and really a decade-long period of time. Terri, what has that been like from your spot?
Oh my goodness. It has been amazing. This is my 10th season.
I tell her that all the time. I don't see how she do her job.
This is my 10th season in this job, and I think at the end of each season, I kind of go back to the beginning when I was interviewed for this role, and Swin Cash, Tamika Catchings, they were on the executive committee at that time, and they asked me, where do you see yourself? Where do you see this union in 5 to 10 years? And I remember it like yesterday. I said, we're gonna value who we are as women's basketball, and we're gonna value the fact that we're different, and we're not gonna always compare ourselves to the guys. It's helpful to look over in their space and see what they're doing and how they're moving, but know who we are and just value different for exactly what it is. It is different. And to see that and to still be in this role and to see that happen and to see the women like Sylvia, these legends, during their career be celebrated and be on these billboards and truly be household names. And I just love how you talked about, the unity. We didn't talk about this backstage, y'all, when she was talking about the unity and the power of the players. That is something.
Yes, it is.
That is really something. And so it's just been amazing. And watch out, y'all. It's going to continue to be amazing. I promise. We are in a labor fight.
Wait. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We'll get to the labor talks.
Yeah.
On the business front, though, I feel like in the last 4 years, of course, when the Aces and Liberty played, that broke incredible records, and then you had last year's and the year, and maybe that was 2023 and the year before that as well.
They just keep topping themselves.
Exactly.
Yes.
What's it been like on the business front? How have the calls changed? I mean, towards the end of your career, this was happening, but what was it like as maybe the visibility increased over time?
It's phenomenal. Like I say, it's something that we've been fighting for years, and so to have this platform now and seeing all this attention that these young women are getting, I think it's life-changing. So hopefully that it can continue from here, and we keep pushing forward.
Now there are brands jumping to be next to the league. You all were both, I assume, in Indianapolis for the WNBA All-Star Weekend.
I was not there.
You were not there?
Yeah.
They were treating Indianapolis like it was Vegas.
As they should.
With that in mind, there was more branding in Indianapolis than I have ever seen at a WNBA All-Star Weekend. I'll ask you, Sylvia, if there was a brand that you could have collaborated in during your time playing, or maybe there's one that you're proud of that you did collaborate with, what would it have been? Would it have been a signature sneaker, or what do you think it would have been?
For those who know me know I don't think of myself, so I always think outside the box about other people. So my biggest thing is what can I give back? And the youth is very important to me. And so I would love to collab with anybody that's unity based around youth and taking care of the kids is something that I'll probably look forward to.
Beautiful, beautiful. Terri, what's been your favorite WNBA collaboration that you've seen?
My favorite WNBA collaboration
Sure.
has been with L'Oreal. We had players talking for so long about where's our beauty brand partnership? Like, we're a women's league. Like, this is a no-brainer. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let's work on that. Had a conversation, had a relationship with an executive VP over at L'Oreal and Lil Majid. And, she called me one day and she said, how can we help? And I was like, wait, is this really happening? How, like, a brand is calling and saying, how can we help? Like, I don't have to pitch you. And she's like, no, I know who you guys are. I know what you're all about. We want to support, we want to pour into the players, and we want to do it through a partnership with you, through the union. And I was like, breakneck speed, let me come over and, and sit down and talk. And we did just that. So that has been a very meaningful one. I think that's really put us on the map, and particularly meaningful for our members too, to see that we were listening to, what they were talking about. And it's not just, it's beauty, it's skincare, it's like all the things. It's about feeling good inside and out. And I'm really proud of that partnership. I really am. But there's so many that we do. I don't want to leave anybody out. Farmer's Fridge, if you guys are ever in the airport, you see those vending machines, like, it's real, it's good. Like, you can go there, you can trust it, promise you. That's just another example.
Now we're on the subject of business, and you are, one of the maybe 5 most important people in these WNBA, CBA negotiations, and maybe one of the 2 most important people. Map out to us what the players are asking for in this proposal and in these negotiations.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to your question to Syl. You said, was she in Indy? I was in Indy. There was a meeting in Indy.
I heard about it.
Yeah. There's a, I always start with this whole, we don't negotiate in the press, and then I start talking about, what the players are really after. But when they opted out, when the players voted to opt out of this 2020 CBA, they said really pretty clearly what was on their minds, what their priorities were. And it's one of the top priorities, what we say the main thing is the main thing, is a salary system that is tied to the business so that these players are paid their value. Right now, we're in a system that, if you look at it, it's not tied to the business. And so it's designed to undervalue them. As the business grows, they start to fall behind. And we've got to right that ship. And we've got a moment right now to do that. And it's not just like a moment, right? We've seen the growth. We were talking about they're topping themselves with all the metrics that you all are watching, right? With viewership, with attendance, with jersey sales, and on and on and on. They keep topping themselves. We see what Kathy and her team is doing on the league side to grow the business. And it's been 12 teams for forever, right? It has been 12 teams for forever. And blink, and it's going to be 18
At
in a
2030.
minute. And maybe on the way to 20. And this is no inside knowledge. I'm just saying it just looks and feels that way, right? And so this is a sustainable model that, because the players opted out of the 2014 CBA, to fix the business model, to get that, on the track for the 2020 CBA, it's why we are here in 2025 fighting to make sure that this business really loves them back the way they have loved it, the way they have poured into it. We see it across in other men's sports. We can do that. We can do that in women's sports. And when we do that, the women are going to win, the players are going to win, the teams are going to win, the league is going to win. Seems like a no-brainer to me.
You mentioned All-Star Weekend. A couple weeks before All-Star Weekend, the league announced those 3 expansion teams. I believe it's in 2028, 2029, and 2030, at a total of $750 million in expansion fees. But
say that number again.
$750 million in expansion fees, $250 million each. You times 3, and you get 750. I was told that their first counter proposal came shortly after that, and there were a bunch of player comments about it. I think Satu Sabali had the most to say, or maybe the most powerful quote, which was that it was a slap in the face. So what was your feeling reading what the league sent you?
Satu Sabali, first of all, is our co-chair of the CBA committee. She's pretty dialed in, and she's pretty passionate about the work. What was my feeling reading the proposal?
Sure.
That we had some work to do. That perhaps the league and the teams didn't fully hear the players when we opted out and we had our first bargaining session. And so there were going to have to be more conversations to ensure that they did fully hear what the players said and what they meant. I'm clear. I work for them. I understand the mission, I understand the directive, and so we're just going to have to sit down and have more of those conversations. However hard they are, we'll just continue to do it, period.
Sylvia, you negotiated or were part of some negotiations years ago. I believe that was in 2020. What were your negotiations like back then?
Were you part of 2014?
Yes.
Oh, those two. Why do you say it like that?
Yes, because it's intense,
Okay.
especially when you don't feel like you've been heard. But like Terri said, you're very passionate about something that you do. And with our job, it comes with any other job that's physical, mentally taxing on your body physically. And so we just want to be heard, but we also want to be seen as well. And so those negotiations was like very clear. It's like, this is what we're standing on. We're going to stand on all one accord, making sure everybody is on the same page so our message can be heard across the board.
So I want to go back to WNBA All-Star Weekend because that was, I'd say, the most highly public meeting that you all had. And I'll paint a picture from my perspective. That meeting took place on Friday. Saturday, I go and do the events, and then I show up to Commissioner Engelbert's press conference. She says that, I'll go back to the meeting. The meeting, players say leaving the meeting, they're telling me off the record, it was BS, it was pointless, we didn't get any work done. You go into the press conference with Commissioner Engelbert, and she says you all had constructive conversations, candid conversations, and that she's hopeful that a deal will get done. 30 minutes later, I show up in the press box, and I wasn't there when the players had walked out at the time, but then you see "Pay us what you owe us" shirts. Terri, I'm sure you had something to do with that. What went into that thought process? How did we get there?
Oh, see, that was a big wind-up.
It's the truth.
That was a big wind-up for the shirts.
I like
the shirts.
The shirts.
Yeah. Well, there had been conversations about what to do and how to move, and there had been conversations about what that big stage moment was going to be for them. And anybody who is a true fan of the W, anybody who follows, these women know that they're going to take a big stage moment. They're going to seize that opportunity. And lots of conversations went into those shirts, I will say. Lots of conversations. And I am staff. I clearly understand my role. I'm there to support. And, when there are questions asked of me, I'm going to respond. But the way our folks work, the way player leadership works is they deliberate. They have their conversations and their discussions, and they arrive at a decision. What I want to say about those shirts and what I want everybody to remember about those shirts, they're not just the shirts. This was, and repeat after me, this was the biggest sports moment in 2025. I don't know what the media is going to say in 2026 as they look back on this, but I'm telling you, and I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the year, but right now, think about it. That was the biggest moment. There was the biggest moment and the biggest contingent of players, leadership, and other players at that meeting with the league and the teams.
Over 40 players.
Yep. That was the biggest we've ever seen, and there was engagement, and it was real, and it was great. And then coming out, those conversations about what to do with a big stage moment, how to do it, and the decision was very clear. We're all doing it, or none of us are doing it. Just as Sylvia talked about, the power of the collective. We're all doing it, or none of us is doing it. When you think about that, how do you arrive there? How do you get there? You've got young players. You got rookies out there as all-stars, probably shaking in their boots, but they're talking with their vets. And the vets are sharing the history about what they've done before and how this works and how this happens and how, what would a vet say to a rookie? I got you, right? And the anthem plays. So when you go back and you look at this moment, the anthem plays, the players are out on the floor, and the anthem ends, and the lights are coming up, and then there's the unzip. So they didn't look to upstage anything else that was happening. They were gonna let game operations happen, as they typically happen. That, like I said, that anthem was gonna play. They were out there on that court, and then there was that moment. And if you were in that arena, you hear almost an audible gasp. And I will tell you, we did not know.
There was a gasp, and I think I wouldn't say it was an elephant in the room, but it sort of rallied the crowd, and you saw that at the end when the crowd starts chanting for it, and Holly recognizes it, and the players are happy about it. It did become a moment.
Yeah, it did. We as staff were standing in our seats because the anthem had just played. We did not know. We're like, do they have them on? Can you, even when they were warming up with the jacket zipped, we were trying to see, was there like a black t-shirt? And we did not know until y'all knew with the unzip.
Sylvia, what was your reaction to it?
As a former player, I was proud.
Okay.
It's definitely a proud moment to see all these ladies rally up and be like, look, you're going to pay attention to us. So it was definitely a proud moment for me.
Terri, I'll go back to you. When you all opted out, it was October 2024, I believe. That was 300 some odd days ago. Now you're less than 60 days away. And for those of you who don't know, there's an October 31st, which is a somewhat poetic date for Halloween.
Yes.
October 31st deadline with less than 60 days away. What happens after that?
Well, on November 1, we either have reached a deal and we're announcing it, or we have an expired CBA, or we have an expired CBA and both sides have agreed to an extension.
Kathy said that in Indianapolis, that the last CBA negotiations, there was an extension if you all were close to a deal. Right now, it doesn't really sound like, based on what the players have said, based on commentary, nowhere close.
Okay.
I'll let you finish. You were going on about what happens after that, and you stopped at work.
Well, yeah. Well, I love the question about what happens on October 31st or what happens on November 1. Like, I'm going on October 31st. I'm going to wake up on, like the rest of you all, on November 1. But you know, everybody seems to go from 0 to 100 with work stoppage, and there's going to be a strike and there's going to be a lockout. Okay, stop, people. No, just bring it down a little bit. That's actually not the way it happens. There's a process for all of this, right? Those aren't the automatics. And when you heard me say, when I answer your question,
yep.
I didn't even use those words, right? Sure. Yeah. So you don't get to work stoppage until, you know, the union has held a vote across all of its members authorizing a strike. Like, these things happen. There are steps that happen. And on the league side of the table, I don't know what their process is. Sure. Their board of governors gets together, like decides whatever, and there's a lockout, I guess. I don't know. But on November 1, I'm going to wake up and, you know, either we're announcing to the world the CBA has expired, and we're like, whatever, or we have an agreement. We pulled some all-nighters. I don't know. It's
interesting to watch and listen to your vibe and conversations because your players match that. And even from the moment in October, what you all have been saying consistently is that we are going to hold the line until we negotiate a deal that's going to benefit us. Are you and the players prepared to hold that line should October 31st come and there's not a new deal yet?
Well, let's go back to October of 2024. When we had discussions with our advisory team and with our player leadership, it was, what is this CBA now? Where's the business right now? Where's it headed? Does it make sense to stay here, to stay in this CBA because you know what's going to happen, you know the end of the story, or do you opt out? But the opt-out question was twofold, and this is important. The opt-out question was, do we end this CBA? Do we opt out of this CBA? And are we prepared to stay in the fight for as long as it takes? And that's what we said repeatedly over and over again. That's what player leadership saw on their ballot to vote. That was the option. Do we stay in this CBA because we know the ending, or do we opt out and commit to fight and stay in that fight and stay in the negotiations and stay at the table for as long as it takes? You had to understand both parts, and player leadership had to go back to their teammates and talk about both parts. And so, to answer to your question, yes, they're prepared. Yes, they're ready, because that has been what our conversations have been for a year now, almost a year.
Sylvia, what advice do you give to players as somebody who's been a part of two of these? And this feels like, I mean, all of these are big, but this is like the biggest one yet because of the business booming.
Mm-hmm. Understand your worth. This is our job. We go out there and do what we love, but we also want to be compensated. So understand your worth and fight for what you think is right.
We'll close out on a positive note with two questions. What are you
That
all...
was positive.
Yeah, I'm saying, but you know, CBA conversations are very contentious naturally. Yeah. It's not just, I would say that it's not just women's basketball that go through this. There's been NFL work stoppages, there's been NBA work stoppages, there's been MLB work stoppages. And sometimes with women's basketball, it ends up becoming this bubble that people just poke at and poke at and poke at. And I mean, these CBA negotiations are unique to you all, but these CBA negotiations also happen across all sports.
True.
With that being said, what are you all most proud of in the work that you've done for the players, let's say over the course of your careers?
What I'm most proud of is that each individual can show up as themselves. I know for a long time when I was playing, I felt like we was put in a box. And we had to abide by these rules, but we get so much authenticity from these players, and you get to see who they really are outside of the basketball world. You get to see the fashion part of it. You get to see all the things on social media that they enjoy doing, sharing with the fans beyond basketball. That's what I'm most proud of.
Terri?
Yeah, that's great. I'm most proud of the fact that we know that we're a union, and we're proud to be a union. We're proud to be a member of the AFL-CIO and the Sports Council of the Federation. We just understand what it means to be based and grounded in good labor principles. We understand the power of the collective. We understand consensus is the way to arrive at decisions. And Labor Day is one of our favorite holidays.
Mine too. Well, I'm Randall Williams. This is Terri Jackson and Sylvia Fowles. This was the Business of Women's Basketball.